for pizza night. So today I'm getting you ready for this weekend's pizza night with my Detroit-style pizza with a tahini Kale Caesar salad. It's the perfect menu. I love it so, so much. Now, the first thing I need to do is get to work on that Detroit-style pizza. So I need to make the dough. Detroit-style pizza is kind of sort of more like focaccia style. It's nice and thick and delicious and fluffy. So it's a super simple dough to make. And the first thing I need is 3 1/4 cups of bread flour. Now, if you don't have bread flour, you could totally use all-purpose. That's totally fine. But bread flour actually has a higher protein content in it. And protein, fun fact, is gluten. So it's got more of that gluten, a little bit more of that stretching power. So it's gonna be nice and fluffy and delicious. All right, talking while you're measuring, never a good idea. I think this is 3. Let's say, yeah, we keep me honest, thank you, yeah. Now also that 1/4 cup, just to round that out. Now into there, I'm gonna add in just a packet of dry yeast. I'm using instant dry yeast because this stuff you can actually just throw into the dry ingredients. It's a little bit finer. Now, if you have yeast not in these little packets, you wanna use about 2 1/4 teaspoons of that. Unlike normal yeast that you have to bloom in warm water, instant dry yeast, you just put it into the dry ingredients and it mixes in beautifully. So yeast, fun fact, is a tiny little organism that right now is sleeping and we're gonna wake it up with some more water. But I don't know about you, but anytime I wake up in the morning, I'm a little bit hungry. So we've gotta give that yeast something to eat. So I'm gonna add in a teaspoon of some sugar. You could also use honey if you wanted to, but just something sweet that yeast can like dig into, just like me when I was 6 and only wanted sugar cereal. That's what I liked. Now into there, I'm also gonna add in a 1.5 teaspoons of some salt. Sometimes people will tell you that salt kills yeast. It doesn't actually kill it, it just kind of slows it down. Gives that yeast an opportunity to like, you know, grow slowly, age, have its like childhood, you know, before you dig into it. Now I'm gonna whisk that together. And that's it for the dry ingredients. And for the wet ingredients, I've got 1.5 cups of warm tap water over here. So I'm just gonna add that on into the bowl. And you want it to be kind of like the temperature of a baby bottle, something that's nice and warm and cozy, not hot because you don't want to kill that yeast, just nice and warm. But into there, I'm also gonna add in a little bit of fat. So I'm adding 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And as you can tell, I'm not measuring this. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. It's pizza night. It's the weekend, or we're getting ready for the weekend, and we are good to go. I'm gonna call that 3 tablespoons. It's pizza night. Well, you gotta have the oil. All right, now I'm gonna give this a mix together. And it's gonna start to come together into like a very shaggy kind of wet dough. And that's what I'm looking for. Basically, you just stir this until it kind of holds together. And then in the bowl, I actually like to start mixing it with my hand. I don't even turn this one out. If you wanted to, you could do it on a board. But for me, you just kind of get in there and just start kind of pressing it until it all comes together. Also, truly, one of my favorite things in the kitchen is kneading dough. That water is nice and warm, so the dough is nice and warm. It just comes together. I would knead this a little bit more just until it looks smooth and not dusty. And then I would cover this, set it aside for about an hour, just until it doubles in size. If your house is a little cold, you might want to put it aside for a little bit longer. Just gonna give my hand a wipe off, because now I'm covered in dough. A classic occupational hazard for me. Now that is resting aside, just gonna double. So while that does its thing, I'm gonna make some tomato sauce for this pizza. Now I like a really fresh tomato sauce. So I need about 1.5, 1 3/4 cup of crushed tomatoes or tomato passata. So I'm gonna add that on into, what do we got? 1.5 cups, perfect, nailed it. Ugh. Add that on in. And then I'm also gonna add in 2 cloves of sliced garlic. I like to slice my garlic for this tomato sauce because it makes it really nice and sweet. You still get little hunks of garlic in there. Absolutely beautiful. So just give those a little sliceroo. This is where we concentrate because we're slicing garlic on TV. Oh, that was a bonus clove. we had a clove hiding. I'm gonna throw him over there. Slice that up. Anytime I'm working with garlic, it's kind of funny. The bigger you cut it, the softer the flavor is when you cook it. So if I were to mince this, it gets really punchy, but just by slicing it, you get really nice kind of soft garlic flavor. Into there, I'm also gonna add in a tablespoon of some fresh parsley. If you don't have fresh parsley, you could totally leave this out, but I love that little brightness in there. Toss that in. And then for kind of classic, I'm gonna call it freezer pizza vibes, I'm also using a teaspoon of dry Italian seasoning. This stuff has like oregano, a little bit of rosemary, some basil, some dry parsley, and it gives a real nice flavor into there. Now season that up with some salt and pepper, and that is the quickest, easiest no-cook tomato sauce that we're gonna then cook into that oven. So give that a stir up. Absolutely beautiful. Now, through the magic of television, I have got some dough that is already risen up. I punched it down, and then I popped it into a 9x13 pan, nicely greased, and like, look at this baby. I set this aside for about 30 minutes until it's nice and puffy. It looks beautiful. And this is the glory of a Detroit-style pizza. It's a rectangle, so you get all these wonderful corners. And the way you build this is totally backwards compared to pretty much every other pizza. So as opposed to doing sauce, cheese, topping, we're gonna do toppings, cheese, then sauce. So I'm topping mine with whatever you like. If you like pepperoni, feel free to throw that down. I'm a green olive girl. I know not everyone loves them, but I do. Little salty guys, so tasty. Now, I typically am also a pineapple person. Don't hate me. Thank you, I appreciate it. On this, totally delish. But I've also got some roasted red peppers on there too. Just toss those over. But again, any sort of pizza topping you like. And to give this like ultimate cheesiness, I have got a whole brick of mozzarella cheese here. We're going big this pizza night. I've grated half of it, so I'm just gonna add that all over the top of this dough. And then this is the secret. You want to cube the other half. These melt into little cheesy pools and really kind of focus on the edges, because that's the glory of a Detroit-style pizza. The edges get really nice and crispy and cheesy. You almost get that kind of like Frico-y, crispy cheese, kind of fried cheese situation. Now on the top, I'm just gonna dot over some of that sauce. I like to do it in kind of a grid pattern, but you can just do lines too. Oh my gosh. This is so good. It kind of looks like a board game to me. I don't know why. Pop that on over. And then this baby needs to go into my smoking hot 500-degree oven on the bottom rack for 16 to 18 minutes until it's crisp and delish. We are getting ready for pizza night this weekend. I have made this Detroit-style pizza, and I cannot tell you how excited I am. Look at how good this looks. Oh my gosh. All of that crispy cheese all around the outside. That sauce is cooked down. Basically, it's just pools of cheese and sauce with crispy, crunchy edges, and I'm very excited. Now, I'm gonna let that cool a little bit and get to work on the greens for this meal. So I'm doing a delicious take on a Caesar salad. I'm doing a Kale Caesar salad, but with a tahini dressing. So as opposed to using mayonnaise or a ton of oil, we're gonna use tahini, which is like a sesame paste, to make a delicious kind of creamy vinaigrette. So the first thing I need is a 1/4 cup of that tahini. If you don't know what tahini is, it is essentially like the peanut butter of the sesame world. It's really nice, super wonderful. A little bit thinner than peanut butter though, kind of like a natural peanut butter. I want about a 1/4 cup of that. This is a recipe that my friend Renee makes all the time. She is an amazing salad maker, but it always takes her like 2 hours to make a salad. And I don't know what it is. She's got a lot of stories to tell while she's making that salad. All right, so I've got that tahini in there, and now I'm gonna add in the zest and juice of a lemon. Lemon zest gives you that really nice bright lemon flavor. The juice gives you that little bit of acidity. So I'm just gonna add that right on into my bowl. Now, if you don't have a zester, I do recommend that you invest in one. If you don't have one though, you can use a vegetable peeler to remove some of that like bright yellow bit and then finely slice that up. You can also sometimes use a cheese grater. Sometimes it's a bit tricky though. This, secret weapon in the kitchen. Now I'm also gonna add in the juice from that lemon. I personally love a super lemony Caesar dressing. So even when I get it at the store, if I buy the dressing, or if I get it from a restaurant, I usually add a little bit extra lemon. Super tasty and delish. Now, obviously, don't do this if you have a paper cut. Luckily, I don't. You will find out if you do. Amazing. All right, perfect. Now, I'm also gonna add in a garlic clove, or 2, depending on what your garlic tolerance is. I like 2 personally. That lemon juice is gonna kind of pickle that a little bit, so it's not gonna be super punchy, but still like Caesar salad. Need it to be a bit garlicky, right? All right, there's 1 and 2. And again, this grater is perfect because it gets all of that garlic, that lemon zest into this dressing with basically 1 tool. Now into there for a little bit more acidity, I'm gonna add in 2 teaspoons of some vinegar. I'm using red wine vinegar. You could also do white wine. You could do even apple cider would be great. I'd stick away from like balsamic, a little too dark. And then for a bit more flavor and punchiness, I'm also gonna add in some mustard, just about a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. All right, give that a bit of a whisk up. And this is the weird thing. Tahini, when you add a liquid to it, it actually kind of thickens up. It both thins and thickens. It turns really kind of nice and light and creamy. Like, see? It's almost starting to look a little bit like a mayonnaise-y dressing. But right now it's a little bit thick/thin, so I'm gonna add in, weirdly, a little bit of water. That's gonna help thicken and thin this out. I don't understand the science. Definitely has to do with like nuts and fat, but all I know is it's delicious. So give that a whisk. This, up to this point, is a completely vegan Caesar salad dressing. And if you left it at this point, no one would be able to tell. It's super nice. That tahini gives you a little bit of like a, kind of a cheesy flavor. It's really good. But my name is Mary Berg, so obviously I'm gonna add cheese to this. So I've got about a 1/4 cup of grated parm that I'm just gonna add in, give that a bit of a stir. And then here I've got some kale. So as opposed to using romaine, I love using kale. It's nice and hearty. Just toss that in. Season that with a little bit of salt and pepper, or a lot of pepper, depending on what you like. And then give that a good toss up. So, these guys do not like me. Now with kale, the thing that I love about working with kale is you can be kind of rough and tumble with it. It's really hearty and delicious. So you can toss this together and you can have it even sitting in your fridge for a few hours. It just gets even better. It softens up just a bit, kind of almost like a coleslaw, because technically kale is a cabbage, so that works well. All right, you've got all that creamy Caesar dressing on there. That is looking beautiful. I am so excited to eat that, but I'm also really pumped about this pizza, obviously. So we've got that pizza. I'm gonna get it out of the pan. Oh, crunchy, crunchy pizza. Like, oh my gosh, as soon as you take it out of the pan too, the smell is out of control. I'm gonna cut myself a slice because I just can't help it. That crispy edge, delish. And I don't know about you, but this looks like Saturday, Friday night, dream dinner. All right, I'm digging in. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.